Do you have a high degree of confidence, Ann, that the goose will continue to be able to lay these what I see are golden eggs for America and really the world, or could we really mess this up bureaucracy-wise?
Well, there's always a way to mess things up bureaucracy-wise, but it's going to take years before anything is cracked down upon in the tech industry, and we're going to see the competitive landscape change many times during those years. Take advertising, for example. Who's going to dominate? Amazon's growing in that sector. Microsoft's entering. New entrants are entering. How will that affect the revenues of these companies like Google and Facebook?
I guess someone finally connected the dots that if there's only a few companies controlling who does the advertising, that the companies doing the advertising would have to pay more, and therefore consumers are somehow eventually harmed by companies having to pay too much for advertising. What is the real issue? Is it privacy? Is it horrific content that makes its way onto these platforms? Or is it that these companies have monopoly power and are too big? I don't understand what we really need to fix.
Well, I don't think it's the cost of advertising dollars. Certainly, it is the massive shift we've had in media. The digital media platform is dramatically different than old media. I think, first of all, old media is really unhappy and getting unhappier. We're not going to dial back that history. And secondly, it's been very challenging to manage these digital platforms. As Churchill said, it takes about half a second for a lie to go around the world, but it takes a long time for truth to put its pants on during that time. Now these lies can go around the world hundreds of times before people can understand what's fact and fiction. Facebook has thousands of monitors trying to manage the content on these sites. Other platforms are looking at different ways to manage the quality and even what is the content. So I think we've entered into a new world in what is media, how is media managed, not just who owns the media.
So it's not a monolith, I guess, is it? And at this point, would you say who's the most vulnerable and who should not be in the crosshairs, and who should?
Well, we're going to continue to dominate in tech globally unless we do something really stupid here. Tech is part of the backbone of this economy, the economy you've been talking about for the last hour, how strong it is. If you look at the most valuable companies we have as public companies, they are primarily tech companies. And I don't think we want to destroy that. On the other hand, we really do have a very competitive environment out here. I don't think if you ask Google, they'll say that they dominate anything. They're competing for their advertising dollars. You can see how their advertising dollars have been under pressure. They're competing in the cloud. You ask Amazon, they're competing with Walmart every day on commerce. They're also competing for new advertising dollars against Google and Facebook. You ask Microsoft, Microsoft's competing in the cloud with both Amazon and Google. So the competitive dynamics are not one that would indicate monopolies. It does indicate that we have strong growth in the tech area, that we have every enterprise in the world modernizing their software stack and buying products from these companies, and also that media is now digital, and digital advertisers are going through these companies to reach the consumers that they sell goods to. That is not going to change, and that does not indicate a monopoly.
And if you weren't so understated and tactful and measured, I mean, when you hear Elizabeth Warren or a candidate on the left talking about, some of the things they'd like to do, what would you tell them, or what would you really say? Let's say you had a couple cocktails. What would you say to them if you really let yourself go? I mean, seriously, you're very measured. But does this look insane to you? Some of the things that we're considering.
It looks like we have a presidential campaign in process, and polarizing rhetoric is the statement of the day.
Harmful,
and polarizing rhetoric, yeah, I think the Elizabeth Warren billboard at our train station finally went down yesterday or the day before yesterday. But I think we're going to see a lot of these candidates get on the tech bandwagon. It's what You know, our young voters are all digital natives. They've been that for a long time. Everybody lives in a tech world now. And I don't think I think candidates think that the way you bring voters in is to put out these polarizing statements which claims that tech is bad. I don't know how young voters view this. I think it would be interesting to survey them, but I don't think young voters view tech as bad, and these voters really count.
Steve Moore here from the Heritage Foundation. I work for a conservative organization in Washington. I'm pretty conservative myself, and I talk to conservatives every day. I wonder, you know, you talk about the risks to the high-tech sector. Obviously, the antitrust, potential violations are a problem. But, you know, conservatives aren't real happy with high tech right now. They're not happy with Facebook. They're not happy with Google and some of these other companies. They feel like they're discriminated against. They feel that their rights to free speech are being infringed upon. They're not happy with the way these companies sometimes censor conservative thought and language. And the question I have for you is, how attentive do you think these tech companies are to a potential revolt, because you're there in Silicon Valley, where it's a very liberal place, but that's not America. And I wonder, do you think these companies are doing anything to reach out to conservatives in a more in a way that would keep their customers?
I don't think any of these companies are playing political games with their content. I think they're very challenged in managing 2 billion users, putting content on every day. We've never had platforms like this where content is being created by billions of users every single day, and algorithms and servers are putting up that content as rapidly as they can. It is very, very challenging for any of these companies to manage, censor, control everything, ranging from a suicide being committed online to other acts that companies are trying to build basically a structure for managing that. And I think they're actually asking the U.S. government for help on that. I really don't think that political games are being played with content.
Okay. All right, Ann, thank you. If called to testify before Congress, you're available. Can I write that down if you need to explain?
Yeah, I would testify, because I still think that California does represent America.